Australia's foremost set decorators and gold statue winner. You get your photo op. You will find it physically impossible to stop assuming the position of. I'd like to thank all the little people. You know who you are when you pick it up. You'll find that it's so heavy and you polished it, have you? You threatened to polish it.
No, it's all tarnished.
Tarnished, right?
My kids put it in the pool.
Emma's finished the job yesterday. We've caught it between blockbusters, so to speak, but it's her credits are astounding. But this is for Gatsby, and Bev will explain to you the difference between a set decorator and a production designer, and of course they give 2 Oscars for art direction. Americans still called art direction. The phrase production designer came about with Gone with the Wind, where the producer credited, there's so much art department going on that they use the credit for us production designer, because I think they had 3 or 4 art directors working. It was such a huge job.
Yes, thanks for the introduction, Bob. As Bob mentioned, I work as part of a team. I work very closely with the production designer and the art director, of course, and the director. A set decorator often gets confused with a set designer. A set designer is more an architect or a person who draws up the set. So I'm a team player. I'm a member of the art department. The whole of the art department are responsible for the visual storytelling of a film, and it's I find it really, really exciting because with every script, the brief changes. So whether we're doing a sci-fi film, whether I'm doing a period film, if you're on set and you're working, let's say, in the lighting department or the grips department, it can be very similar from film after film. I'm not trying to take any credit away from those teams, but the art department are very creative, and I work with a production designer who will design the sets, who will design if we are building sets, or to most of the films I work on will have some type of set construction. So that's then when we need set designers to be able to draw up the plans, whether it be on a location. It just might not be a set, but we need to go, let's say, to an existing house, but I've got to empty out all their furniture to then put into my period correct furniture. I have a team of prop buyers who are literally on the road sourcing period correct furnishings, whether it be fabrics, floor coverings, light switches, the furniture we sit on. I work very closely with the props master. Anything an actor touches is classed as a hero prop, and that will always give to the props master to source. We obviously discuss colour palettes and things like so. My favourite people are the prop prop manufacture team, because the majority of films I have worked on, whether it be sci-fi, whether it be period, whether it's Pirates of the Caribbean, even on Gatsby, we have to manufacture items from scratch, whether it's swords, whether it's guns, whether it's I need 20 of a particular element and I can only find one, so then you cast and mould it to make 20. And they're really, really creative guys, the props manufacture guys, and really, really clever. As I said, I'm part of a team. Some of the images I'll show you today are not my work alone. They are an effort, a team effort. What I'm showing you today is all part of a team effort, and they're basically sets of past films that I've worked on. I've had quite a varied career from sci-fi. I started off as a runner. I started off as actually a special effects runner, then a construction runner, and my first job was a buyer on a TV show called the new series of Skippy, which they made probably about 35 years ago up on the Gold Coast. I have always stayed in art department. I was at Macquarie Uni and I failed a business law subject, so I couldn't go to uni full time. So followed my boyfriend up to the Gold Coast and saw how the art department worked and just thought, you know what, that's what I want to stick with. How I start every job, every brief is different, but you use the same principles on every film. I've got to, the brief is the script, the budget will be the budget, and you always try and stick within the budget. And then there's also the time frame. So I've got these three major factors: my brief, the budget, and what I physically can afford, and how we plan to get it all in front of camera, which is a really big juggle. So you can imagine a lot of the time I'm told you've got to get all these. Actor availability is a really big thing in the film industry because you get these really big stars. Or I just worked on a TV mini-series called Fangs, and we had Tony Collette for 2 weeks, Joe Edgerton for 2 weeks. So every set that they're in has to be ready in that 6 week. We've got a 6 week time frame, but all these sets had to be ready in 2 weeks. So it puts really big constraints on the art department because all of a sudden you've got set, and you're there for half a day, 1 day, half a day. So you've got to be realistic about how we can achieve some of these sets. I always start with the film mood boards. This was Baz Luhrmann's mood board for Elvis, which is a bit over the top. But Elvis, you know, you've got to immerse yourself into the script and the character, because what my role as a set decorator is to try and help tell that visual story with the dressing, you know, maybe hobbies of the actor. You know, a costume designer can achieve that with clothing, whereas what we're trying to do in the art department is also tell another story with how they live, what their favourite colours might be, what they're into, how messy they are, how organised they are. It's the same with cars, what sort of the cars they drive, which also falls under the umbrella of the art department. So I always start off a set with, you know, basic mood boards. I can be presented 1 million images from a production designer who's done months and months of research and amazing images, but the reality is, what can we provide? What can I buy? What can I manufacture in my time frame to get on front of the screen? So I can be shown all these lovely, fantastic, you know, vintage retro images, but it's like, well, this is a reality. This is what I can get. And I think that's the skill in a really successful set, is not just shopping at high end or hiring furniture, but we mix from, you know, op shop to fabrics from IKEA to fabrics from high end production designers, custom wallpapers to, you know, stick on mural tiles from Bunnings. It's really being able to use all your resources to be able to get a set that's in the right colour palette. I'm just going to show you a few examples, mainly from Elvis, but this was basically a studio set that the Chippies built on the sound stage, and of course we decorated the inside of it. We, on this particular set, we had the reference from a standing Gracelands, and so I didn't get to go on the location survey to Gracelands, but the production designer and director did, and measured every single little detail from the stained glass windows we made here, and got in trouble. There was copyright issues. This is a really big thing in my world, and the designers didn't actually get permission from the family to manufacture. That's the stained glass is actually a piece of art, and you need permission to reproduce.
You found out before the shoot, though, did you?
Oh no! After they'd spent the $35,000 on creating it.
Yeah.
You know, again, the chairs in this particular set, we basically found some vintage chairs. Added a little bit of a detail on the back from the talented model makers, reupholstered them to make them period correct. Again, one of my favourite scenes. But I mean, everything you see in this particular set, photo, is manufactured. We had to manufacture the coffee table, the sideboard, the big white cabinet there, the custom drapes to fit the window, custom wallpaper, the beauty of digital printing these days. I mean, graphic artists, I always fail to mention the graphic artists and how important they are in the role of art department. People say, no, AI will replace all the graphic artists, and it's like, well, they don't, because the studio will not allow an AI-generated image to be used because they don't know where the image came from. So it's...
The period TV, Bev, that's, you manufactured the cabinet?
No, we took the glass out. We actually... it's always in a fine line on with any playback that you might have on screen, whether they want to do it in post. The majority happens in post-production, hence the little dots on the screen. But on a show I recently did, they wanted to do it all in-house. So then you've got to have a laptop, computer, HDMI cable behind, and some playback person actually at the right frames per minute for it to be read on the camera there. There's just, there's the corner of the sofa there, which was a 12-foot sofa, and we could barely get it in the front door, and that happens more often than not with set deck and on locations. As if I'm actually at a location, one of the first things you've got to do is look at access. You know, how many stairs, lifts, you know, can I get things up the lift? Again, this is custom wallpaper, a $50 Vinnie's sofa, which we upholstered in gold vinyl. So it's just making the choices and they're all intentional and deliberate choices, where I'm going to spend the money on and where I get the best value for on-screen value, because I could go and buy, you know, a much more expensive sofa, but you'll never find the sofa that you want in the colour palette that you want. We did not make that grand piano, but we did make the light fitting and the coffee table and the stool that the grand piano's on. That was a publicity shot. The little sculpture, the little poor little horse that's sitting in front of the TV becomes touching on copyright is a really big thing for the studios, whether it be Australian or American, and anything over 6 inches or 4 inches these days, like 100 mil, 150 mil, is classed as a statue, and you need to get clearance on it.
That's a version of the Remington sculpture, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the only one that was copyright free, that we bought it, and it came with permission to use. Films, you know, they charge a lot of money to get a international worldwide release, but it's the artwork. The artwork can be, you know, they just have to set you up with a Getty account, and you just have to use your images, or iStock, I should say. And yeah, and it's still it's really painful. It's a painful process, but I've worked on a job where, gosh, it was Time Warner Brothers were the production company, and we had a magazine that the actor just picked up. The magazines were provided by Warner Brothers, but when the actor just picked up the Time magazine and he opened it in front of camera, the artwork on the front cover is not clear. So they had to chop that scene out of the film. It's same with any books I dress on a bookshelf. I'm allowed to see the spine only of a book, but if you have to then generate your own book cover or magazine cover or newspaper, if you need to dress it on the top. So it's a time process. So again, this was the same part of the house that was built on location, and that's all that was built, as you can see, with a lot of blue screen, and that's what was ended up in the final edit of the film. So big visual effects, set extension, I guess is what we call it, including greens that they have to add in. Trees and grass and most of the cars I think were there, so maybe not, but this particular room, which was my favourite on Elvis, never made the cut of the film. It's the jungle room. All those chairs, you know, are polystyrene. We had a sculptor literally just carving the chairs. They were not terribly functional. You wouldn't want to have someone sitting on them all day, but a lot of work. Green carpet, we had to custom dye the carpet, import it from China, and it's also on the ceiling, and you know, you're always a bit you always order a little bit more just in case you run out, because you just can't go to the local shops to buy some more. But I mean, a custom digitally printed fabric, again, we were matching what was existing at Gracelands, but it's just...
This didn't make the cut?
Didn't make the cut.
Holy crap.
No. So, I mean, it was a long film and this got completely edited. But it was such a beautiful, it had like a little water feature there, and yeah, it's a shame. There's the fabulous Catherine Martin, always wearing leopard. Again, a massive graphics job here, and we, unfortunately, one of that foreground Elvis poster, we sent a lot of them to print, and then we got them back, and the quality of the image that we'd sent to print wasn't great, and so it was like Elvis's face was really almost one colour, and so it was like a black blob on the poster, and it was like, we'd printed hundreds of them, but that's what happens in certain time when you're really rushing. Sometimes you make mistakes. We custom made all those dogs, and we digitally printed the both wallpapers.
They were the hound dog promotion.
They were the hound dog, yeah, and off the shelf wallpaper. But it's so overdressed, and that's part of my job, is that I've got to make sure I have enough to put in camera, and I'm of the philosophy that I'd rather overdress a set and have it so chockers that I can easily take away. It takes me 10 minutes. If the director walks on and goes, "Well, Bev, what have you done? This is ridiculous." I can take it away, but I can't add to it quickly. So I just need to really make sure that you've got enough furniture to decorate. I'm told, "Oh, we'll only ever look one way." Never believe it. They'll do a 360. So I've always got to make sure I've got enough furniture that I can dress a room or a set. I don't believe a director when he says you're only going to look one way. That was it. We had to go to like a mascot maker to make the really big hound dog, and it wouldn't stand up by itself. We were making it up. We were attempting patterns, and it was hard. Again, a lot of artwork here, a lot of photos, custom wallpaper. Lighting's always a big deal with the art department. This is a particular tent that had to go on location, but then when it's in a sound stage, there's no rigging, so how am I supposed to stand up a tent that has poles that's supposed to be 500 mil into the ground? So again, working really closely with the rigging department to be able to have this tent standing up in a sound stage. The DP requested that she wanted to do the big top shot, Mandy Walker, so we had to have a removable piece of canvas. A lot of engineering went into this because, as you imagine, the strength then of the canvas deteriorates when you cut a big hole in it. The canvas itself is a wax canvas from India, Game of Thrones. We've used Rangasons in India for many years, but they became very expensive after Game of Thrones. But that's all part of the budget. But it's a beautiful translucent canvas which people it allows light through to be able to shoot the actors. And
you wouldn't be able to get this canvas off the hook in Sydney.
No, because every canvas we have in Sydney is UV treated. So if it's UV treated, it prevents light coming through it. So that's why this, you have to get other fabrics, and the beauty of this was the how strong it was. It wasn't that expensive, like it might be, to buy it $2,000, but to freight it over was $2,000. So, and that was it on location, and then it fell down, and I was very happy when it fell down. Again, really big set builds are so important. On most of the jobs I work on, there's always a good construction element, and this was Beale Street. We only built half the neon signs, the rest were done in CG. We only built like to 1 story tall. where those containers are, big blue screens were hung, and it was all visual effects. A lot of sign writing. I mean, once the set was dressed, but in this particular set, we built the street lights, we built the parking meters. You know, the construction had to, you know, lay the gutters, and this was built on a tip, an old tip up on the Gold Coast, and you weren't allowed to go affix into the ground because of the gases. So even all the sets are all concrete blocks and sandbags to make them standing. There's nothing actually fixed or dug into the ground there. Challenges. Every location has its challenges, and that was a big one to... like that first floor, there's nothing up there. It's just some of my blinds. But I mean, that's where you can get away with movies. We're not doing a proper build, and that's the beauty of it, is that you know, some people, we do have to dress to camera, which can be quite frustrating, especially when they're saying, hey, I want now to put an actor in that top window. But, oh yeah, we also made the traffic lights on that particular set. So... there's just a lot of manufacture involved. What that YouTube sort of clip I was trying to show you was a lot of the time set decorators are just considered shoppers, buyers. You just go and do the glamorous side of shopping, and it's more than that. There's a lot of consultation with other departments, whether it be the rigging or pot manufacturing or construction or painters.
They're just that one. So you would have had to make the jacket and things like that as well.
That was Hero from Costume.
Oh,
so,
Hero.
but again, they made a lot of the suits over in Bangkok with some great tailors, which are very film friendly. So I went through the same tailors and just used the same patterns that Costume had already set up.
But you organised
absolutely.
It's the demarcation between costume design, wardrobe if you like, and set decorating.
Well, it's the colour palette. You always want the colour palette, and I think the best films that you're visually stimulated by, you can see that there's a clear consultation and a clear colour palette between production designer, costume designer, and then the cinematographer. I think when there's those three heads of department working well, because they are the creatives, with the director of course, but they're the people actually making it happen, that when there's that great collaboration, that's when I think the most visually exciting films that you remember, and it all sort of works. I mean, this set leaked. It was just shocking. Everything got so wet, and then with the Queensland sun so mouldy. This was a challenge. This is the gold curtain. I honestly thought when I started Elvis, one of my first questions after reading the script, you know, that curtain, that's CG. You know, we're not going to make the bloody gold curtain. Unfortunately, you know, we did make it. It's actually bigger than any casino in Australia, any stage, any performing stage. So, again, custom fabric from China. We manufactured it in Australia, but the truss system that the curtain fabricators had specified was not strong enough. So our rigging grips to the rescue, just to do, you know, some simple tri-truss, but to get it all automated, you know, programming, I guess, what do you call them, the chain blocks to then be able to open the curtain.
To explain their roost is that gathering system, so they've got to come up in an order, haven't they?
Yes, they
The
do.
centre's got to be higher than the sides, and it's all got to happen.
And I mean, again, I'll go back to the time frame. Like, we were pushing, we closed for Christmas, and I hadn't received the fabric. And when we did unroll the fabric, it's two-toned, it's different colours, and it's like, because how they'd sewn the curtain, the fabric has a warp and a weft. It's like velvet. You've always got to have velvet going the one way if you then sew them the other way. So to me, that was just, I had to send the curtain then back to Sydney for them to unpick, and it was a sailmaker actually who sewed the curtain. they've got the machines that sit underground and the fabric goes above you when they're doing like big sails for sailing ships. But again, it's finding the right supplier who's got the space and the infrastructure to be able to manufacture this massive gold curtain. We threaded crystals to make these chandeliers, which lovely students helped. We made all the pool tables. We made all the poker machines.
And the carpet's your own design?
Yeah,
Copyright?
yeah. Again, digitally printed, and I can't. There's some again in Melbourne. Signature Prints did all this for us, but with the there's a lot more in the script of the One-Iron Bandit because the Colonel was obviously a gambler, but. We had 12 that were practical and the rest were just facades only with the graphic printed, like the handles wouldn't move. We could not afford to make them all practical, and that was what Baz, he wants that scene from Casino where you're walking through and people are playing. It's like, we don't have the money. They won't have the time to shoot it, and it was this ongoing battle with, sort of an email chain saying we are making 12 only are functional. Falls on deaf ears sometimes.
So all the graphics for the pokies had to be done?
Yeah, we probably did, I think, 8 different versions and just repeated them there and the like. Coffin. All those filing cabinets are manufactured. They're just folded metal from a metal fabricators. We do a lot of fakes. We do a lot of non-prac in my world, but it's what I can afford. I love this set. This was the Sunken Lounge. Sorry, the photo's a bit dark, but it was again a beautiful set, just with fabric and soft furnishings and crystals and the like. I mean, I'm just going to keep showing photos, but I'm just wondering if, do people have any questions while I'm sort of, yeah.
I actually did have a question. The Sunken Lounge, the wall with the bookshelf, was that all just a print? Like with the TVs and everything? No,
the construction actually had the depth there to do a shelf, but it was so little. Like, I looked at it, it's like I can barely put a book on it, only because of the return to the studio wall, but there was a bit of depth there, and I think he shot the TV, so we had to get enough depth to allow us for some illumination behind that.
The green screen, were they the TVs or?
Yeah, they were green screen, but on the opposite wall, which I don't think I've got a picture of, never in my life had I been asked to do automated curtains. Like, when you go to a hotel, I think Baz has spent too much time in 5-star hotels, and it's like, you press a button, and he had this beat that Austin would be singing as the curtains slowly close. I'm so lonesome tonight, and it's just like, dude, you could get someone, on some fishing line if need be, but there was like $8,000 in curtain automated, fabric, just to get them automated, which was blowing my mind. But anyway, what the director wants, the director gets. So this was an amazing set. It was really difficult. All that roof, there are 120 mil squared tiles which have foam and red velvet on a concave, on an arc, and so assembling it was quite a nightmare. We engaged the services of a custom boat upholsterer, very big boats up on the Gold Coast who used to sort of funny shapes and curves, but it took a long time. Red shag pole carpet. He's handsome, isn't he? Graphics, again, all the Christmas cards. That was off-the-shelf carpet, believe it or not, which was in from a hotel. But I mean, this is in the car park of a Gold Coast, public council car park that the locations you get asked to dress or where you have to go, and I think that's the beauty of it. You only ever can see one way, which is good. But Carnival, all graphics, just you know, there's not really set deck in there except for the bunting, but I mean, it's hat off to the graphic artists because they were absolutely amazing.
And you had Signwriter, you had
Signwriter, and yeah, and then the day, this was the weekend before the Monday shoot when a storm came through, and sort of, you know, a mini cyclone on the Gold Coast.
That's the day before, the weekend before the shoot.
That was my weekend working, restoring it. But I mean, this was a fabulous job I did with Shantram, I did with Chris Kennedy, and one of my favourite Australian production designers as well. And again, it's just in the soundstage at in Melbourne to make it look like India. So, scenic artists, I think that their talent is incredible. A TV commercial I did for Coles, you know. So, repetition, signage. That's just down at the Rocks.
That's a dress location, was it?
I had to dress it. It was an empty location.
Well done, yeah.
Great Gatsby, again, this was interesting. This was one of the first films for the 3D camera. So they had a lot of problems with the colour saturation because they were well aware when the film was going to be released, not every local cinema like the Orpheum or the Randwick Ritz would have the infrastructure for 3D film. So it then had to go through another edit process, and so a lot of the colour was leached. So there's a lot of trial on the pink suit, the blue suit, but the technology has just moved so far forward these days that you know, you don't work on a film these days that has 35mm film. So
You would have shot tests and colour tests.
Colour tests, they went to the edit suites because it was really, really bleached, and they were quite shocked, you know, how the intensity that we might have to then create, put into our rugs or to the soft furnishings, because it's just going to all be leached out. So again, all these desks, there's no way in the world I was going to find 12 to 15 desks. So it's literally pieces of custom wood that we had stained as the tops, and all the bases are different. All the bases are different. The sofa was from Lawson's, which was olive green, and we just spent money on dye. Yes?
Those are all set in ICMS, right?
Sorry?
That whole set's from ICMS, right?
That was at Fox. Yeah, we built it at Fox Studios. So, yeah. Disney, I think it's called now.
Can I just ask, I mean, I guess with regard to how faithful to things
Yeah.
you're going to be, I suppose copyright would be an issue about
Yeah.
how faithful you could be, and your artistic
Yes.
kind of leanings also. The second question would be, is there a repository for these things? So once you've made all these things,
I wish.
can you lend them out to other movies, or are they
Well,
some
no,
kind of...
unfortunately, studios get a bit until there's such a time difference from once we've shot the film to when it's released.
Yeah.
So, and it can be something like Thor, or Ragnarok, or the Superman. It's like 18 months because the visual effects component is so expensive, and that's what one of my jobs as an assistant set decorator was Star Wars I think it was 2. They shot 2 and 3 in Australia like 25 years ago. And that's when green screen was really big, and they told me then that that producer was saying, "Oh, Bev, you'll be out of a job because it'll all be green screen soon," and it's not, because the actors don't like working in it. It's so expensive. I went with Ewan McGregor from Moulin Rouge. I was the props master on that. And he's so creative and dancing and singing, and then to whatever he played Obi-Wan Kenobi on Star Wars, and he hated it. It's just like, I'm just surrounded. All I did as set deck was floors and maybe some parquetry, some vinyl, and a few drapes. There was no set deck, and it was really boring, but for me. But it's the same. They say AI will take, there'll be all movies will be AI. They won't. It will not. They can't quite. They still can't get the hands right. I don't believe that. I wish there was an area for all this stuff to be stored, but I mean, the studios have ownership.
You spend so much money making them.
Yeah, we do, and then they'd rather it destroyed. They would, and that's what I had to do on Pirates of the Caribbean. We built clinker boats. We built them, And they sent the guy out from Disney, the head, and they had their studio system when they worked there for 40 years. And Kevin watched me destroy them. So it's just like, dude, why can't we recycle these? So,
Yeah.
but it's about ownership. So, but I mean, I'm saying that on Pirates of the Caribbean, I did go over to the LA, the Burbank studios, because all the past, we were number 5, so they'd stored a lot of the stuff from Pirates, and it's like, well, why am I going to build cannons when there's 30 just here, and the big helms, the ship helms. So we shipped over 4 40-foot containers worth of stuff. So, but that was Disney. But I wish there was. We have Propco here, but I mean, it doesn't have the facility to store big pieces of furniture. So.
Propco's about the size of a back room in the big studio prop stores in LA, but even then, the big studio prop stores only supply a fraction of what you see on screen.
I mean, and that's the whole thing with your time and your money. I mean, Elvis was, I know the props master, Richie Dean, struggled a bit because it was all American. We're English, our background's English. And, you're finding these fabulous things which were period correct, but they're not camera ready. So whether it be a phone or a radio, and then you've got to pull everything apart and restore it, and it's the time frame. And I get asked to do a lot of decoration, which I physically can't afford to do. So I can never say no, but I come up with an alternative. And if a director's not going to respond to time and budget, then that's a producer thing. But they usually are. I mean, not everyone's got that big an ego, but I've worked with some that do.
Well,
So, is there any other questions as I'm going along? Yeah.
Yeah, so what would that time frame be that you would have to bring all of this together before shooting? Like, would you get...
Look, a standard American film will have 12 to 16 weeks. Often if there's big construction builds, the set designers may be on earlier. Clearly the production designer has done a pitch to the studios and the director and already has a bit of a vision. They might start a bit earlier. But I would come on, let's say 4 months. My buyers maybe only 3 months. A standard shoot's anywhere between 12 and 16 weeks, and then you get a week or two to wrap it. So and then it's all about, and that's why they need to know early on the schedule, because there could be a couple of really big sets I was just working on Voltron on the Gold Coast, which I think is due out in 2026. Was based on a cartoon in the 80s. And the sets were so huge, they were so big that construction were doing 7 days a week just to physically get them up and painted. And so then all of a sudden it's like, well, when do I get my turn? When do I dress? And again, that's where I've got to be really organised and have more stuff, because gone are the days when I'd get a week to dress. I now get 1 or 2 days. So I've got to have measured it twice. I've got to have everything ready to go, because I just don't get enough time these days. So, yeah. But I love it. I wouldn't change it. But, just big party scenes, of course, with balloons.
this is
Great Gatsby.
Gatsby, yeah.
I mean, I hired all those plinths just from a wedding company. The florals are all fake. That's, Ellsgood's cheap $3 a metre polyester fabric, but it looks fabulous in the set. So not everything has to be high end, and not everything has to be perfect, because I find things that things that are perfect have no character, and character can often help make a design look real. We've got to age everything. I can't just go to and that's what I hate about commercials. Sometimes you go, you're just shopping at the supercentre and you're just putting things in front because everything's so quick. But I look at it sometimes thinking, oh God, I'd love to age that or wash it again or, dirty it down. But the agency don't always want that. They want a new, happy, pitchy life type thing. So that's what I do love about the film.
The champagne glass tower, that's what it is in the back, is it?
Yeah, it is. We glued
together.
a lot of acrylic glasses together, and it was sitting on the bottom bit had I guess a bit of drainage with special effects. It couldn't be moved. It was sort of plumbed into the a hose running out for all the folk
So the
champagne.
model making department would
They were helping and special effects.
add effects.
And then again, that was one of those is hanging up in the Swarovski crystal headquarters in New York now. They shipped over the loose crystals and we designed those chandeliers. And I'm sure there's some after students who spent days and days and days just threading because the crystals were all graduated. I had to get someone to actually design it. It was a lot of work involved, and we actually also on loan from their chandelier company. We had about 12 chandeliers from Swarovski, but with all the atmos that came on set, the atmos or the fog, the smoke has a bit of an oil base to it. And you didn't notice it, but obviously that covered all the chandeliers. They then got shipped back, sea freight to the US, and then the humidity, the salt water, that they got them back there, and they were all rusted. So I think the production was up for about $30,000 in damages. So. It's not. I don't know. I seem to have.
Well,
Yeah, I mean it's just about scale and space sometimes. So. Again, clearance, copyright. It's just we had to pay quite top dollar to some of the art galleries in the US and the UK to be able to get such great files, a decent quality to be able to print at
some
scale.
Baroque art pieces are actually existing pieces that you've had to get high res scale.
And it costs money because sometimes the iStock ones you just can't get.
Yeah.
They just can't make them big enough. So. So the detail of the set designers there is beautiful, that floor.
Oh, the orange juice machine.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I don't think it even made the set. So, but again, it was, I think, on any production, the same happened to me this week on this Fangs, an Australian Aussie film. Gets towards the end of the shoot and they realise they have all these pickup shots or they haven't, finished the call sheet and they're madly rewriting or they're just trying to get, while the actors are in the country, we need a pick up here, we need a pick up here. And so it always becomes very frantic towards the last few weeks of any shoot, whether it's a mini series, a TV show or a film. And this is one of those sets where it's like, right, we need to have a pick up of this orange juice machine, and I don't think it ever made the film. But the fake flowers, the majority of those flowers are all silks, and I, remember showing Baz a few of our big arrangements, and it was a couple of days before we shot this scene. Because they're fabulous, they're great, but I want double. You want more, maybe triple the amount. So I did not envisage this set ever having this amount of flowers, but it's one of the iconic moments in the film, I think, when he's, there. So sofa I rented, returned. The sofa then got sold and was shipped interstate. I had to do a pickup shot, and it's like I don't have the sofa. So we, again, trying to make something, trying to take a photo of it and print some fabric. So I don't have the budget to buy everything, and that's the joys of filmmaking, really. So,
How many buyers would you have had?
I had 3 buyers.
There's not a lot in the scheme of things, is it?
It's not. I mean,
It more gets unwieldy, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, I try and give each buyer a set, but in saying that, you need to know the full scope of works, because we've all got different eyes. We're all drawn to different elements, and so we all need to know that we're looking for, anything to do with elephants, or so any elephant statues or umbrellas or light fittings. Everyone needs to read the whole script to get the full scope of works. And you can't have too much of an ego. I've worked with some buyers who say, "Oh, Bev, you never pick any of my things." It's like, that's okay, you're contributing. It's all about a teamwork. It's not just, there's no I in team.
That's a question there about the actual dressing onto the set. There you've got yourself, you've got buyers who maybe or may not, you've got set dresses as such.
Look, I tend these days, when I first started out, we were like buyer dressers.
Yeah.
These days I normally have prop buyers, and then I have the swing gang. So my most important person is my lead man. And then in the swing gang, I'll have probably 6 to 8 people.
Explain swing gang.
So swing gang, set deck are basically glorified furniture removalists. That's part of our job. We're bumping in and bumping out. And swing gang help me facilitate that. So it's labour. We have trucks. In America, if I was an American set decorator, I wouldn't touch anything. I'd just sort of point and direct. I don't work like that. I'm very hands-on. I like to move stuff around, and the swing gang, the guys will help me. Normally, guys and girls will help facilitate getting it from A to B. Yeah.
In England, they'll walk off the set if you touch anything.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the same in some states.
Well, I know in India they were saying to me, you must be poor, you're carrying stuff. And it's like, I am poor. That's why I'm not even working, pay my mortgage. But it is, and that's the beauty of Australia, and I hope we don't ever change, is we are not as unionised as the Americans. I've done a few TV commercials, Chanel commercial, I've done a bit of work through the Lumens with Baz and CM over in America, and there's a lot more people required. You have a lot more people on set, and your roles are very defined. And that's what I love about Australia, is that I can have a buyer dresser, I can have a props, I can have a runner come on set and help me hang a picture. I can, send someone out to do some buying. Our roles, we work as a team, whereas in America there's very defined roles. I couldn't go onto the set and even touch a cable or turn on a light switch. That is not my job. So
that's another thing, that when the sets are up like that, it's your responsibility to bring the electrics in as well. The sets should be fully wired, is it?
Yeah.
You don't leave it to lighting, to camera department, you bring in your own electric. Obviously,
I've got to have everything test and tagged. It's got to be test and tagged, whether it's something that's hired from Propco, whether it's something I bought from Kmart. There's a fine line. If it's brand new, I can normally get away with it. But you'll find a lot of the key gaffers on our set aren't qualified electricians, but by law they have to have an electrician on set to be able to, look at a cable, because a lot of the period stuff's only 2 prongs. It doesn't have an earth, so I can't bring anything that doesn't have an earth onto set. And when you're in people's homes, you just want to plug into the house electricity. Well, we could blow all their fuses if you've got every department, like the curling tongs and the hairdressers in the owner's bedroom plugging in. So I normally just go through the gaffer supplied power boxes, and that's, I think, our biggest injury in the film industry is in the electrics department. So it's something.
And whenever you're plugging in, the golden rule is you always work through the gaffers. You don't just walk over to the power box and plug in. You make sure that they know what you're doing. And so I've been on the set with electrical department. That's another story.
Yeah, no, I've had a few set fires, so things spark. Is there any other questions I can ask you guys? Anything? If anyone wants to work in the art department? Yes.
What would be some tips that you would give to avoid copyright? Because I've heard that you've mentioned copyright a few times, and it seems like something to watch out for.
It is. It's a big thing, and the studios will go after you, like the lawyers will go after you. So you just have to go through copy-free websites, or as I say, it's iStock. They seem to have the. I know some of the iStock photos are terrible. You're sort of looking for, let's say, modern art, and it's just really boring. There are actual libraries in the States and in the UK that have copy-free material, copyright material, and a lot of it's for free. You just do have to, or I often go through a local artist or find a gallery maybe, and to get, because you often want real artwork rather than just printed stuff. And a lot of the up and coming artists might give, you know, for $100 will allow you to use their artworks. You've just got to get everything in writing, because I've seen it through Star Wars that they have gone after people who even just said, as seen in Star Wars, trying to sell some ceramic at Bondi Market. So you've just got to be really diligent, because it's a big liability. It's, you know, people... Same with, like, I couldn't go to get a Marumenko printed fabric and hang it on the wall as a panel because that's copyrighted. You could
Swedish
use
design,
it. You could use it as a cushion because it's in the manner it's intended to be used. But when it becomes art, it's a different kettle of fish. So you just got to be really aware. Yeah. Yeah.
I might predict a question. Sorry to jump in from that,
No,
just to
it's all
lead this. Sustainability was sort of raised about. I mean, I've had a long career. I've watched whole streets full of those, and I've seen. Sometimes you can store things, particularly if it's a franchise like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Sure.
But generally, on the one-off thing, there's not going to be Elvis Part 2, or there's Gandhi Part 2, is there? So you occasionally have auctions.
They had a
You're
really
on
big
Quiet
auction.
American, weren't you?
That did have a
What
big
great
online auction. Yeah, Elvis sold everything off.
But am I
about a year
right in
later.
saying that the bean counters think they'll get back exactly what you paid for the plus?
Yeah.
They don't get it, do they?
They don't understand that we modify. You know, we age, we pull things apart, I paint, you know, and that's the thing. It's like anything secondhand. I mean, this last job I've done, I did more Facebook Marketplace buying, and I then took it to Lawson's and we made more money than what we actually bought it secondhand. So it's being savvy, you know, and you know, there's a market. If you think it's worth $500 when the market's only, you know, $100, so I'll pay it because for me it's on-screen value, and I've got one, and there's another phone, and for me to make it, it's going to be at $1,500. So to pay that $500, it's
There's also
good.
the
But
equation of if you know where it is, even though it's 3 hours or 2 hours away, it's cheaper
Oh,
to
absolutely.
start from scratch
Yeah.
looking, isn't it?
I mean, it's time. It's the time frame you've got, the money you're willing to, and they're the things that you're going. It should be a beautiful triangle: time, money, budget. But it's never that beautiful triangle because all of a sudden they change the schedule. So then you've got to spend more money to get it done in that shorter period of time, or you give me more time, push it back, and I can get it done in the predicted budget. And it's an ongoing cost within any department, whether it's hair and makeup, prosthetics, grips. The thing is, the producers can often predict the lights that might come out of the back of a truck, the amount of track that, you know, the dolly might need, how many days the dolly is required, what sort of, you know, 10K, 5K, skylights, sky panels, makeup. But they can never predict the art department because it's so varied, from a period film from 1930s to futuristic to space. So you're reinventing everything and building everything, creating whole worlds, to contemporary. And I know a lot of producers, their formulas go out the window when they're predicting what an art department could cost. And it's often a surprise to them when the production designer is then employed and has done his figures and the set builds, once he's had the final conversations with the director, like, oh, this is the size of the set, that they've got to adapt, and there's always more money. There's always that little kitty somewhere, so they say. But yeah.
The last time I saw you was on Planet of the Apes over there.
Yeah.
What were you buying on Planet of the Apes?
I bought a lot of junk.
Junk,
There was,
yeah.
you know, the people. There were no humans; they were hiding. So it was a lot of junk, and we bought burnt out cars, or we spent money on getting burnt out cars towed and, you know, taken to locations, so then the greens people could vine, I guess, and age up. We
Down in Kangaroo Valley,
did a lot of
mostly.
street lights.
Oh,
so,
okay.
yeah. But I mean, I did about 2 interior big sets there, and that was with William Macy. He set, you know, he was the other human. So yeah.
I heard that Sean was buying sticks from South Africa.
Oh yeah,
The
latte
construction
poles.
manager.
Latte poles.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's what they call. They were latte poles. So they were
Can I ask
blonde.
a favour here, Bev? Just Have you got a call sheet just to show the size of an art department? Just to the
gosh.
classes?
If I
You
can,
wouldn't
I've
mind
got to
putting
get
one
out
up?
to.
Yeah. Just the scale. You're getting a sense of the scale of the big end of production here. This is a unique glimpse into the
I don't
world.
know how to escape here.
And even from Richmond, if you like, just to give you a sense of the...
Frames. Here's one costume sale call sheet. This is only a small department though.
Thanks is the call sheet.
Thanks. That's every scene there. Roughly advanced schedule.
More the crew list for your department.
But then here,
Yeah.
oh, but I'm not even on the call sheet. This is.
No, well, because you're, yeah, here's the art department, right? There's Alex.
Art director.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Decorator, there you are. You're in
Oh,
there. You're in the Banks call sheet of this.
But I mean, this is a really small. That was.
That's a small shoot.
Really
That's what
small.
$12 million
Yeah.
film or something. Or $11,
Yeah.
not $100 million film.
Yeah.
But looks familiar. Just as I often tell my class, that the difference between the $10 million film and the $100 million film doesn't mean you have 10 times more money, does it? You've got the same equation, but you've got 10 times more logistical problems.
Well, it's also those bigger budgets have bigger cast. You know, the cast members put bums on seats, but just because it's a $100 million film, half that could be between two key actors. You know, who get paid $10,000 per word that they speak, but they're in the country for 10 days. So I mean, that's on Thin Red Line. George Clooney was in the country for 2 days.
Yeah, that's right. I
That's
remember
2
that.
days.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like, okay, here's 10 mil.
The last question for me. Were you on Australia?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I was pregnant. My second
Oh,
child.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It was that long ago. I was working over at Fox, and I remember the scramble when they got equine flu out of Western Australia, and they had to bring. Can you just explain what happened there? Did you have to pull props out of Broome or wherever the hell you were?
We were Kununurra up north, and there was a few things went wrong on that job with the cyclone of Bowen, and then all the rain that came through. It was
Bowen was where they built Darwin.
Yes, and then it was an early wet season, so everything was flowering when it shouldn't have been. But then, yeah, all of a sudden we had to then be building the sets in the soundstage. So, I mean, things were had to be shipped, road freighted, and you just can't do it. Like the crew can get back in 2 days, but the props and the dressing can't. So
It was an outbreak of equine flu, it was like COVID for horses, I suppose. So they couldn't shoot with the cattle and the horses in Western Australia. They had to come back and do interiors of the house in Sydney. Is that right? Was that how I read
that's
it?
right. You know, we did. We had
And
to
you
then
were setting
recreate
up
it.
bits and pieces of all sorts of stuff going on. But you had to pull back key props. You
Yeah,
can't duplicate everything.
Well, I was only ever asked to dress a hallway there, and then of course the director sees the full structure and wants all the rooms dressed. So I didn't have the furniture there, so we
Welcome to
had to
Basildon, yeah.
try and buy in Darwin. So yeah.
Cool. Just bring the
Yes.
house lights up a little
Sorry,
bit
I
there.
just have a quick question.
Thanks, Rob.
So with copyright, when it comes to things like furniture and like, for example, if you're dressing a children's bedroom and you need a plush toy for the bed, like, what are the copyright details
Look,
on
it's
things like
more
that?
artwork
Down
at
a
the
bit more.
moment, and it will come into fabric. A lot of fabric designers are copywriting their images, but it's more for furniture. I couldn't use some of the higher end designer chairs or the like, but it's just more artwork and sculpture, so statues, yeah. I mean, photos, I can't use period photos, because if you use a photograph, you need permission of the photographer who took the photo, and you need permission of the people in the photograph. So hence when a lot of the shows I work on, it's my kids' photos on the fridge, you know, it's sort of my family, my wedding photo there, because it's just easier, so yeah. I give my permission, my kids often don't.
CM was pregnant as well on Australia, wasn't she?
No. Oh, towards the end, William's a little bit. No, not Australia.
You didn't do Romeo.
No.
No, before your time.
No,
yeah.
that set decorator came out, Bridget, and did Moulin Rouge. I was the
Right,
props
yeah.
master on Moulin Rouge.
Oh,
So,
right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Were you nominated for the last...
Elvis, we were nominated
Elvis?
and we went, but there was a bit of a controversy between the co-production designer, so
I'll avoid
we
that.
knew we wouldn't win. So
What was the UK... So Elvis was designed by...
Catherine Martin and Karen Murphy.
Oh, Karen,
And
that's
someone
right.
complained that Karen didn't spend a day of principal photography, which was true because COVID hit. And Karen went back to America and didn't come back for the actual shoot. And the fact that she was still credited, someone complained to the Academy. So as soon as a complaint goes in, you know you've got the Academy is so.
She was nominated for A Star Is Born too, I think.
Yeah, no, she's great. She's a good Aussie girl. Yeah,
Yeah, the local lady. So
Yeah.
Deb Riley, who did Game of Thrones,
Is now in Sydney doing what is it? The Tom Hanks thing. What is it?
the current Tom Hanks film.
That's Greyhound. Is it Greyhound?
That's right.
Is it
Something Greyhound 2.
Yeah.
Which is a war film.
Yeah.
Question.
So you didn't start off with a design background, or
Oh, I was a runner.
yeah, right.
So I was doing Macquarie Uni accountancy. So yeah, my PCs are always perfect. So and I'm very good at budgeting with those skills. But you know, gosh, that was the days before. It was completely different software these days. You know, when I was there. But no, I feel the best training is actually on-the-job training. I mean, they can teach you a lot in a classroom, and I get it. But our sets are so varied, I guess, especially in art department and the scope of works and the skill set. It's you can be a jack of all trades, you know, or if you're going to then, like some of the sculptors are just incredible, or the fine artists, you know. So there's, but then there's some jobs you don't have a sculptor, so then they might come and help in swing gang, or they'll go to scenic and help paint the set. So you've got to be a little bit flexible in your job roles, so to be able to all work together. Yeah.
You have a question, David?
You were saying with script and budget and time, with the fact is with the script, so you read the script, like when you're looking at it as a set dresser and stuff like that, what things are you looking for in the script? So if I'm dressing a room, am I looking for the emotional, what tone, or what am I?
Well, absolutely, we want to convey all that within the character dressing. There'll be scripted dressing. He goes and sleeps on a bed. He looks into the dresser, searching for a photograph. Oh, there's a chair. So there's things that are scripted which you have to have in that set. But then you want to develop that with the other dressing. You know, maybe there's a coat rack, or you know, a hat rack, and there's 12 hats there, or he's a collector of pipes or cameras, or he's a photographer, so there's, you know, lots of photos and things. It's creating an environment of all the unscripted things, which I feel that's what more experience I get, the easier it becomes for me to do. And it's the layers, and that's what I'm saying. I always like to try and layer a set. And if then the director thinks it's too cluttered or it's too busy, you just take away really quickly. You can de-dress a room in 10 minutes, but I can't add more of something.
So you're talking to the director, the screenwriter, and it's almost like there's...
I don't
like
speak with the screenwriter. Sometimes
so more
the
the
showrunner's
director.
on site, but I don't know. That their job's normally done.
So you're looking for hobbies, those
Yeah.
kind of interests.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
generally.
yeah.
Backstory.
Yeah.
I tell my classes the B&B for most of the set, they say where the character comes, bedrooms and bathrooms, you've the two bills. You've got to do
Yeah.
bedrooms per character,
Yeah.
where every prop is a cube for their
Yeah.
personalities and things, and bathrooms for physical logistics.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
But there was a couple of, I think that's pretty much covered what I had on my menu, but we haven't got an answer for sustainability of set. I've noticed the sets now, and Bev might be able to tell you, the flyaway walls aren't as easy to move as they used to be. On commercials, they're still plywood, but
Yeah,
rainforest
I
plywood.
mean, these days they put a layer of top coat on them, so there's no sustainability because they're plastered to get that seamless finish. You can't give them away. So, I mean, I think they've stopped using Meranti ply.
Yeah, rainforest ply.
Because that's so expensive, and since COVID, the cost of building materials has almost doubled. So, Yeah,
Have you had
it's a
to
big
ever
factor.
fireproof your sets as well?
I had to fireproof fabric.
Fabric, of course. Your spray fireproof?
Well, again, I was involved in the House of Wax
Oh,
up
they
on
burnt the
the
set
Gold
down.
Coast with the which burnt down an entire soundstage to the ground. I mean, the sound stages are meant to implode, and it did. And that was through the waxed furniture on the first floor of a set was being pulled through the floor, and it was drip trays of water once the furniture, which was all waxed, coming through, and then flames were happening, and it was just literally wax still does has a melting point, and the wax dripped into the water tray, which is what it was supposed to do, but it then flipped up and it then sort of started to burn on top of itself, and then going with the special effects. And even though this wax isn't supposed to burn like a candle, it did. So the whole studio burnt down. So
Were you there when that happened?
sorry?
Were you up there when that
No, I was at the Wallabies versus England game up in Brisbane. But I looked at my
was
phone
there for that
in my
match.
bag. I looked at my phone. It's like 42 missed calls. It's like what? And as we drove back down from Brisbane, the smoke, all the air conditioning foil that was scattered along the side of the road, it was pretty horrific. And it was lucky that Gillian, one of the key gaffers, was on the gantry. She had just come down for a cigarette break, otherwise she wouldn't have gotten out. So,
the bad day on
yes.
set generally?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. And that was only the interior, not the street set. It's
Oh, it was just the interior.
the interior. It's actually a really good looking set.
It's Grace Walker. Yeah.
Yeah, Gracie Walker. It's based on the it's an Art Deco.
It's Art Deco, yeah. There was one in, what was the city in Napier in New Zealand.
Oh, Napier, that's right, yeah.
It's got a question over here.
Sorry.
Yes, so this is going off Peach's question earlier about like an example like a soft toy in a bed or something like that. And you said it didn't really apply to that kind of stuff, but like I'm assuming there's a certain level when it starts to become like famous characters from things or like maybe recognizable brands and that kind of stuff. Should we lean more towards like generic, like?
Look, I'm of the opinion, and this is what happens on big American films, if it's being used in the manner it's intended to be used, I'm allowed to use it. Okay. So, but then 5 years ago I'd have to clear everything and use generic. And even on this TV show movie I worked on, they didn't want to show brand names when the fridge was being opened. And it's just like, dude, it's cordial.
Yeah.
I think it's every producer has to have, you've just got to be guided by how the producer wants to go. But when it's alcohol and then someone then goes and beats someone up or stabs someone, that bottle has to be a completely made up cleared label. They don't want any bad publicity with their brand. Every week I get an email from a product placement company, whether they be in Australia or the UK or the States, who want to give you product or give you an e-bike or give you certain hats or give you sunnies, because you can imagine you get that onto a celebrity, those sunglasses, and it can put bums on seats. But it's more costume, I guess. But I'm always happy to use it, but I hate being told by a producer that I have to use it. It's just like, you're the one getting the kickback, you're getting the 25K. And that's normally on those American films, if you're giving $25,000 worth of product, you can get a credit. So, yeah.
There are companies that handle, just product placement to explain, the companies who handle product, but they're guaranteed that people have put product with them so many placements a year.
Yeah.
So they're constantly hustling people like Bev and costume designers and so forth to use stuff.
Absolutely. So
that's a good
it's
thing
free.
about
But I can never
relationship.
use an Apple phone. I know, or I'm always asked to use, generic. I rarely use Apple computers. I think after Sex in the City, they started wanting a lot of money, and there was that whole rumour about Sex in the City, the movie, where Mr. Big died on the bike.
Oh, the Peloton.
And that was product placement, and no one told them that he was going to die. So, they weren't very happy about that whatsoever. So, yeah.
We do a last question or two before we...
Yes.
Yes, I'm curious about cultural sensitive material. For example, from Australia. What were considerations that you have to tackle?
Yeah, well, we have on the Film Australia, we had an advisor to guide us because, you know, through ignorance, we don't want to offend anyone, and I'm not up to speed with every tradition, so we do have to always ask, and that's what I'm always a big fan of, is to ask for help and to ask for guidance and research as best we can. But I mean, even when I've worked in Thailand or India, I wouldn't know how to set up a particular shrine, you know. I mean, so you need the help of, and it's always getting help with the local people, whether it's in that suburb or that state or that country, to give better feedback. I mean, I can only do so much research, but unless I've got someone of that origin to advise, and you know, we respect that. So we need that. We research to a certain point, and then you really do need to be advised. And that's the same with on set. Any intimacy, they'll actually have an intimacy advisor, regardless of if it's only just a little, you know, kiss on the cheek. But you don't want anyone, whether an actor or being put in a position where they're being forced to kiss a male or forced to kiss a female, or vice versa. So they've got to take on board, you know, that it's you. Putting people in vulnerable positions, so you know you need advisors to help you to move forward. So yeah.
Okay, last question. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I think we can thank Bev for her wonderful sort of. I'll just turn on the house lights and see each other. Here's your chance to do your selfie down here with a gold statue. Thanks. Sorry to jump in there.
No, that's okay.
That much experience
All
in
good.
art department, so I thought I'd just lead
cool.
you through, just trying to get you out in time. Because the lunch is ready, waiting. Where are you going?
Sorry?
Where are you going for lunch?
The dining room at Surrey Hills.
No,
Been there. No, I don't know it either.
No. Oh, that dongle thingy, yeah. Here we go. Anyone else like to do a happy snap? Here's your chance. Okay, thanks. There you go. Here's the selfie. Oh. Don't forget to thank the little people when you know. Oh.
Now you go and I'll take the
Feel the weight of it. Feel how heavy it actually is.
Oh, you don't want to be there?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for that. Work PayPal? Do you use PayPal? I'll give you a call and show you how.
Okay.
And I'll sort it out for you.